Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Psychically Speaking. If you're a regular listener, thank you for being such an important part of this journey with me. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. I'm so glad you found your way here. This is a podcast where intuition meets real life truth with just the right dash of sass. I'm your host, Lisa Ann. Together, we'll explore, learn, and grow through meaningful moments and fresh perspectives. Today's episode is especially close to my heart. We're diving into something that I have chosen to devote my life to, and that is communicating with the spirit world. Whether you've had a personal loss, ever felt a presence around you, or are simply curious about life after death, this episode is for you. Let's talk about what's real, what's not, and how spirit communication is more sacred and healing than most people realize. I guess in starting today's episode, we should start where my journey actually began. And that was in my early 20s. I had just had my first child, and my grandmother suddenly passed. After her passing, she almost immediately came to me in a dream. But this wasn't a warm, fuzzy dream just letting me know that she loved me and she missed me. She had a warning for me. And without divulging too much personal information, I will just tell you that it was regarding a very serious health issue with my child. And 6 months later, everything that she warned me about started unfolding. And it would be a 4-year journey before everything was completed. And her message of no matter what happened, I needed to remember that everything was going to be okay. And no matter what the doctors told me, I needed to remember that everything was going to be okay. And that is exactly what happened. At the end, everything turned out to be okay. And I share this story because too many times when I say, my grandmother came to me in a dream, people would say to me, oh, that's so cute. Your mind made it up because you missed your grandmother. But I have to be honest with you, nowhere in my mind would I have made up such a traumatic event in my life regarding a child. So that is why I am sharing that with you, because that was my first introduction into communicating with the spirit world. Now, it wouldn't be until years later that I went through a particularly challenging year and decided to take a class with this woman who was a registered nurse. And it was just kind of like a spiritual class. She taught meditation and she introduced you to all kinds of things. Energy healing. Her husband was a professional psychic. So she introduced us to tarot cards and, different forms of meditation, astrology, numerology, all kinds of things. Now, I do not like math and I don't like having to think. So for me, from the very beginning, I was more drawn to the visual things, the tarot cards, the guided meditation. Astrology and numerology just never resonated with me. There is way too much thinking, memorizing, and math involved. So I just never was drawn to that. But it was very interesting. And I found myself kind of more and more intrigued as the weeks went by. Now, after that, I started doing meditation classes and started doing like little readings for people. And my first actual mediumship reading happened quite accidentally. And to be honest with you, was a bit of a shocking experience for me. So I had just started reading and it was late at night and I had someone who I would call an acquaintance. This wasn't someone that I was particularly close to or knew a lot about their lives. In fact, they were one of those very quiet, kind of disconnected, didn't really give you too much information about themselves kind of person. And they also were an atheist. So I found it very interesting when they called me. They started with, I don't believe in any of this and I need a reading, but I don't want to tell you anything. And can you read without knowing what anything's about? which to this day is how I read. When somebody comes for a reading, I don't want to know anything about you. I don't even want to know why you're there, right? I don't want any information that may lean my human side in a certain direction. So I start this is on the phone. I start doing this reading for this woman, and I'm seeing a bathroom being renovated, and I'm seeing this really pretty wallpaper. And in my mind, I'm seeing a picture of a woman who's like a grandmother. Like I could see exactly what she looked like. And she's talking about how nice the bathroom looks. And she's talking about the new lamp and how the lamp is so beautiful. And she's so glad she got it. And she's glad she wasn't cheap and bought the lamp. And as I'm giving the message, I'm changing the word lamp to the word light. And the client's going, I have no idea. I am renovating my bathroom, but I have no idea what you're talking about with the light. And the woman who I'm seeing, who I'm not even realizing at this moment that that's who's giving me the information. I just think I'm seeing a picture of a woman and I have no idea. I'm not connecting anything. And then the woman says to me again, it's not a light, it's a lamp. So now I say to the client I'm reading for, listen, this is crazy, but I see a picture of this woman. She says she's your grandmother. She's very excited about the things that you picked for the bathroom, but she's especially excited about this new lamp you bought. And the woman goes, oh my God, how is this happening? That's my grandmother, and she died years ago. And when I tell you, I wasn't sure if I was going to pass out, throw up, or run out of the house because I personally did not understand what was happening. How am I talking to a dead person? And this woman validated that she found a lamp in an antique store and it was a lot of money and she didn't want to buy it, but it reminded her of that particular grandmother, and that is why she bought the lamp. So that was my professional introduction to doing mediumship readings. So why am I sharing this? Because I never woke up one day and went, you know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life? It's just something that happened to me. And because of that, I started setting a lot of rules for myself without even realizing that that's what I was doing. So when I first started doing these readings and now this mediumship is happening to me and things are coming through, I quite honestly have no idea what's happening to me, right? And I'm stressed out enough trying to figure out, am I losing my mind or what's going on? So my rule from the very, very beginning, my agreement, I guess you could say, with the spirit world has always been any information I get, I pass it along. I was not in a place where I felt like I even knew what was happening, let alone should I be filtering information, okay? So it's really, really important that whatever I get, I share. And it doesn't matter how uncomfortable it may make me, right? So many times I've said to people, please do not punch me when I tell you this. I am just the messenger. I have to stay neutral. I have to deliver the message. And as I learned from the lamp light experience, I cannot interpret the message or switch the wording around, right? I have to deliver the message as it's given to me. Now, one of the things, there's certain themes that I have learned, or certain, I guess, myths that I want to clear up about the spirit world. And the first one, and this is interesting because in the first year or two of reading, there were always these themes coming in, right? So the first misconception or the first myth is that people are mad at them on the other side, right? People would come to me and say, my dad passed and, everybody in the family's had a dream about him but me, and, he must be mad at me. May I just tell you right now to stop watching all this nonsense on television? When our loved ones pass, they are not mad about things, okay? You have to understand wherever you believe we come from, wherever you believe we're going, it is in a much better place than where you are right now on the earth plane, okay? And when we pass, we understand why everything has happened the way it happens. We do not hold on to grudges on the other side. So many times I'll say to someone, "Oh, your mother's coming through," and she says she's with her sister, or she's with her brother, and the person will say to me, "Oh, there's no way. They didn't get along." Well, guess what? They're getting along now, right? Because there's not any of that anger. There's only love and peace. So a lot of times what I have found personally is when someone passes, usually the person that's not having the dream about that person, or they're not getting the messages, they are in such a place of loss. They're in a place of fear. And sometimes, honestly, they're in a place of guilt. Maybe they're feeling that there was something that was unsaid, or maybe they were, not in the room when the person passed. There's a million different examples I can give. But that is why you are not getting the messages, not because they are mad at you, okay? Another one, and this drives me crazy, and I've talked about this for years and years and years, and it's probably one of the biggest things I discuss with clients. When someone is taken in an accident, the spirit does not stay at that scene of the accident. So please stop going to those places where they passed, okay? And while we're talking about that, they're also not stuck in a cemetery, okay? Cemeteries are for the living, not for the dead, right? The cemeteries are a place where we can go and remember them. It is not where they are. I want you to think about this logically, okay? Here you are on the earth plane, living your little human life, la 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 la, with all your family and friends. And then all of a sudden, now you pass and you go to this, wherever your belief system is, this higher vibrational, some call it heaven, whatever you feel comfortable calling it. Now you're in this amazing place. You're in your spirit form. You're a being of light. You're surrounded by love and happiness. You're looking down over all your loved ones. You're watching them experience life. Where do you think you're going to choose to be? With your loved ones, or standing by a rock in a cemetery? Do you see how insane that sounds when you look at it from that perspective, right? If you were the one on the other side, you want to be with your loved ones. You want to be there for all those moments. And that is where our loved ones are. I always remember doing a reading years ago for this woman. And her son came through, and he was sitting on this chair in a living room in front of a fireplace or something. And I said to her, he's coming through, he's on this chair. He described the chair. She goes, "Oh yeah, that's the chair in my living room. That's where he always used to sit." And he said to me, "You have to tell her to stop it." He said, "She keeps going to the cemetery every day to the point that she lost her job." He goes, "And I'm not there. I'm sitting here in the chair in the nice warm house." And when I told her that, she confirmed that she had lost her job because she was going to the cemetery every day. And he wasn't at the cemetery. He was in the nice cozy living room in his favorite chair, watching her and being there for her. So if you have lost a loved one, please create a beautiful space to connect with them. Plant a garden at your house. If you live in an apartment and you have a little deck or a porch, do some potted plants, or maybe create a little table in your house with a picture of your loved one and some beautiful candles or momentums. And when you want to think about them, go there. Do not go to the scene of an accident. All you are doing is connecting with that horrific energy of that accident. And trust me when I tell you, over 30 years of reading for thousands and thousands of people all across the world, that is not what your loved ones want for you. Now, the interesting thing is spirit messages seem to be more about healing, right? I know, again, listen, I did paranormal work for years and years and years. And one of the reasons why I really stepped away from it is because back in the heyday where there were 9 million paranormal shows going on, I was really starting to get very frustrated by the message that they were sending about spirits being stuck and places being haunted. And I would get the end result of that. I would get people coming to me and saying like, my husband died 10 years ago, my wife died 10 years ago, and I watched a show on TV and, maybe my wife is mad at me because I saw this show about how the wife was stuck in the house because she didn't want the husband getting remarried. Again, I'm going to say this to you. When we pass, we are a being of light. We are a higher being. We are not stuck anywhere, okay? We leave our energy behind in places, but we're not stuck. And it always made me laugh when I would watch people doing like spirit releasement ceremonies, right? Like, oh, me and my little human form, I am so much more powerful than you and your beautiful being of light that I have to like give you permission to cross over. Now, before you start sending me hate mail, that is just my philosophy in all of the years that I have been doing readings, paranormal work, cold case files, investigations. I have never met anyone who's stuck. I've met a lot of people who were connected to places that they came back to for whatever reason, but they weren't stuck. And I have never met a spirit that was like, hey, Lisa Ann, you in your little human form, can you help me cross over? No, never met it. Never had it happen, okay? Now, the last thing that I want to talk about as far as that goes is on your worst day. And if you take nothing else from this podcast today, this is what I want you to take. On your worst day, if you are someone who has lost a loved one, on your worst day, I want you to think about this. If you were on the other side and your loved one was here, what would you want for them? You would want them to be happy. You would want their life to keep moving forward. You would want them living in honor of your memory. You would not want your life to stop. You would not want their life to stop. And they do not want your life to stop. They are right there with you. They're there for every moment. They're not just there for anniversaries and birthdays. They're there all the time. They're not angry. They just want you to live a happy and fulfilling life. Now, very briefly, let's talk about the different ways that spirits send messages. So obviously we all know the main ways people have dreams, they feel people, they smell things, they see, maybe someone will see a cardinal all the time or a dragonfly. People have different symbols for things. So I want to talk about a way that spirit sends messages that people don't always pay attention to, right? Because they're so busy looking for all these signs that they don't pay attention to these other two things that happen a lot. One is sending messages through other people, okay? My grandmother, I'm always getting roses just randomly when things happen that like I either appreciate her acknowledgement or validation or a celebration of something. So sometimes they send messages or gifts through other people. And the other way is through your own thoughts. And I can't believe how many people don't pay attention to this, right? One of the things I always teach people is how to work with your loved ones, whether it's your angels, your guides, your loved ones who have passed. When you're trying to solve a problem or work on something, before you go to sleep at night, think about the problem. I'll always ask my grandmother for guidance. And then usually the next day when I'm going about my day, I'll have a thought about something and I'll stop and I'll laugh to myself because I'll think, oh God, that sounds just like something my grandmother would say. Guess what? It's because it is. It is my grandmother, right? They come to you through your own thoughts. So pay attention to those moments where you say to yourself, oh my God, it sounds just like that person, because it is. Okay. Now, I have to tell you, the whole reason I decided to do this particular podcast episode today is because I was sitting home the other night channel surfing, and I won't say what it was or who it was, but I came across a psychic show on television that I never watch them because they make me so angry, and I'm going to start sticking to that rule. But I broke my rule and I started watching this very famous person doing their little gig. And I was so upset because they were doing a reading for a woman who had lost a relative, and she had went to meet with her, and she said to her, I'm not able to connect with this person. We're going to have to go to where this incident happened so I can better connect with them. And when I tell you that is such nonsense, and I was so upset by this because it's all for show. It's all ego. Your loved ones are beautiful energy beings. You don't have to go someplace specifically to have a conversation with them. They're energy. They can have a conversation with you no matter where they are. So please just know that TV is TV and it's entertainment, okay? And just don't believe everything that you see on television, all right? And it really upsets me because those types of things are done without responsibility. And at the end of the day, it's so damaging sometimes to the people that are watching this stuff that now they're thinking, oh, that's why, my loved one isn't communicating with me. So let me just, exactly what we just talked about, let me keep going to the place of the accident, which all you're doing is connecting with that drama and that trauma. And I'm telling you, that is not what they want. So how do you sense your loved one around you? Get quiet. You have to quiet your mind. If you are in the throes of the aftermath of a loss, be patient with yourself. Show yourself some grace. You're grieving. Your loved one will come through. They will send messages. They will get to you. Just focus on you. Start doing meditation. Start taking walks. Start doing things to quiet the mind, because there's nothing magical that you need to do. It is just about clearing that space so they can get through. And I'm going to tell you something no other professional medium or psychic is going to tell you. You don't need us to communicate with the other side, okay? That is the whole reason why I wrote the book, No Phones in Heaven, so many years ago, because I wanted people to understand how to communicate. I wanted to share my stories of different people that I read for to see that this is real. Your loved ones are around you, and to show people that they can also connect with their loved ones. So yes, I've been doing this for over 30 years. And why do people come to me? People don't come to me because they can't connect with their loved ones on their own. They come to me for validation that they're not going crazy. That is really the reason why, right? Because when it comes down to it and I really start talking to people and they go, I haven't gotten any messages. And then we start doing the reading. They have. They just doubted it. They didn't believe in themselves. They questioned it. So just know that, okay? Your loved ones are right there and you can connect with them on your own. And I just want to say that, while some of the mediums on TV create these dramatic, sensationalized experience, true spirit communication is usually quiet and sacred and deeply personal. And those ego-led performances that focus on theatrics and shock value and vague statements are crowd-pleasing and guessing. In contrast, genuine connection is rooted in service, humility, and healing. Real mediums are about seeking the message. Spirit comes through to comfort, not to entertain, And that's a distinction that every seeker deserves to understand. And just as a side note, I always love when people say to me, oh, how come you charge for your services when you have a gift? Number one, it's not a gift. We can all learn how to do it. Number two, do you ask your doctors and your dentists and all these other people that provide a service that question? You do not. So, in closing, I want to thank you for joining me today on Psychically Speaking as we pulled back the curtain on what real mediumship looks. And I'm not even going to delete that out, right? Because this podcast is all about being real. So let's do a take 2 on that, because we're not about perfection, we're about authenticity. So thank you for joining me today on Psychically Speaking as we pulled back the curtain on what real mediumship looks and feels like. I truly hope this episode brought some comfort, some clarity, and maybe even a little bit of relief. Spirit is always around us, not in cemeteries or confined to the past, but moving forward with us in love. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who needs it. Thank you for joining me today on Psychically Speaking. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration. And remember to join me for my free live weekly Psychically Speaking Live, formerly known as Happy Hour with Guided Meditation. We do it via Zoom. For more information, visit spiritquestnc.com. For more information on my No Phones in Heaven book, as well as Past Lives, Have I Been Here Before, and Get Inspired or Becoming Positively Awesome, you can visit my website, spiritquestnc.com. Until next time, take care of yourself, embrace your light, trust your intuition, and keep growing.